morning, Marco. This is the Good Morning Marco Island podcast. We're here with Jordan Kraley.
And I'm Ryan Sullivan.
And we have an amazing guest today.
Bonita Schwan.
Well, Bonita, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you on today. And it's funny because as of this morning, I had never met you in person before. And it just so happened to be we were in the same place at the same time. This morning, it's like, Bonita, I'm interviewing you tonight.
It's karma. It's karma, Ryan.
Everything's
It's
coming
karma.
around. Everything's coming around. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, being our second podcast that we're releasing this week. We've got another one coming Friday, and then hopefully 3 more next week, as long as everything works out exactly the way that we are hoping it will. But we've got you on here just before the election, and I know that you're running for city council, and we just want to get to know you a little bit more because, as I said on the last podcast, policy is for print, personality is for podcasts. So I'd love to get to know a little bit more about you. So if you could just give us your little elevator pitch to tell us about who you
Well,
are.
I don't have an elevator pitch, but I do want to thank Jordan and Ryan for inviting me on here tonight. Okay, so here's my thing about Marco Island. So this is how I found Marco Island. I actually, my last home state was South Dakota, but I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona when COVID hit, and they were locking everything down. So I said, I went and bought I was like, hey, I'm going to go buy an Airstream. So I bought an Airstream. Okay. So for 2 years, I zigzagged across the United States, 38,000 miles, visiting national parks because I'm a huge hiker, visiting friends and family. And when part of that was I was coming up from Dry Tortuga National Park.
Oh, wonderful.
I love Dry Tortuga. It is one of the most interesting national parks, and I've been to all the national parks except for Alaska because I couldn't go up there during lockdown because they lock you down in Canada, okay?
Wait, so this has just been since 2020?
Oh, yeah. This is what I was doing, okay? So I had never camped in my life, and I was like, I'm doing it.
Great.
Just like, I'm doing this, okay? Because it's just kind of like I grew up in a family-owned cattle company and driven a lot of straight trucks and different things. So it's just like, I can drive this. I can do this. I'd never done it, but I just thought I could do it. So I started zigzagging the national parks, and then I was coming up for Dry Tortuga National Park. I've had the pleasure of enjoying Florida, different locations for several years, but I was coming up from Dry Tortuga, and I saw the exit that said Marco Island. And I've always loved islands because I was in the Peace Corps in Western Samoa, an island. And I've always been very intrigued by islands and what I learned from them and all.
Right.
So I took the exit into Marco Island, and then you're coming over the Jolly Bridge, and you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah, that first look at Marco is
know.
always like nothing else.
It's like nothing else. And I was like, wow. And I just got really excited about it. And I love that it was a small island, 4 miles by 6 miles, and was so intrigued by it. But I wanted to do my due diligence, and there's a lot of wonderful islands in Florida.
Right.
But I just was so drawn by Marco Island. And part of that was because I'm a huge history buff.
Yeah.
And so I'm a huge history buff.
My bells are going off the moment.
I know. I'm telling you, in all these national parks, I lived in South Dakota and Wyoming, and I lived at the East Gate of Yellowstone, and I'm a huge Roosevelt fan who established our national parks.
Yes.
I have his bust. I have Roosevelt's bust at my home of him riding his horse in Marco Island.
Right.
Not in Yellowstone.
Okay,
sorry.
I was going to say, it's like, wait a second.
Hi, sorry, hi. No, I got a little, I heard them chatter.
Oh, yeah. No, that's totally fine.
Roosevelt riding his horse in Yellowstone National
Funny enough,
Park.
I actually
You-
played Theodore Roosevelt in a production at the Rose Hall History Museum.
I love that.
For
Okay.
one of our sponsors, which sponsored the last episode, and will be sponsoring all the rest of the City Council episodes, Sisbaro Acting Studio. I played Theodore Roosevelt the night that he decided to run for his third term. So
Okay.
yeah, no, Theodore Roosevelt is my number one of all time.
Okay.
So,
I have
very
a little,
exciting.
I have a little something for you then.
Okay, I'm excited.
So, there's the Roosevelt Foundation, and so they actually. This is just a charming thing I'm going to share
Okay.
with you. So they share, they have for sale Teddy Roosevelt in Teddy Roosevelt bear. We all know about the teddy
Yeah,
bear.
yeah.
Do you have one of these?
I do not.
I'm going to get
know.
you these because I
Oh,
give
wonderful.
these, I send these out as gifts all the time. It's the Teddy Roosevelt bear as the Rough Rider at his ranch in North Dakota and his presidency with
Oh,
his
that's so
black
cool.
stovepipe. And I send these Teddy Roosevelt gifts out to everybody I know and love
that's great.
because I love Teddy Roosevelt,
I love that. Also, hearing from someone running for local office saying that they love Teddy Roosevelt makes me very, 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 very happy.
Well,
So.
I also was just, I was one of the original members of the Bull Moose Club.
Really?
Yes.
That's so interesting.
I know. This is more information than that you need, but I'm a huge Roosevelt person. And
That is so fun.
It's charming, and it's, who doesn't aspire to that?
Oh, yeah.
When he took the shot and he gave a speech,
Oh, yeah.
and did all of that.
Got shot in the middle of his speech.
May
and then
neither you
hunched over.
ever, Jordan or Jason, take a shot
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything, but that was amazing.
Oh no!
It's amazing.
I just hope that I'd have the resolve to get shot in the chest and then just go. I'm going to continue my speech just in hushed tones, and then went on for another hour. Oh,
I know.
I love Theodore
Wasn't
Roosevelt.
that amazing? I love him. And so I've camped in his park.
Right.
I've camped several times in the Theodore Roosevelt Park. And, it's part of the Badlands. And I also am, though, from my state that I lived in before I moved to change my residency to Florida was South Dakota.
Okay, so how long did you live in South Dakota? Were you like South Dakota?
I've lived in South Dakota 30 years.
Okay.
But prior to that, I was from Iowa. So
Okay.
I went to the University of Iowa for 2 years after graduating from my high school. And then I transferred to the University of Texas. I was an accounting major, and the number one ranked college in the nation for accounting programs was the University of Texas.
Very nice.
So I transferred to there, and I actually graduated in these 439 graduates in the accounting program, 16. So I have my wits about me. I think
Yeah.
I can really help Marco Island with my accounting skills.
That's good.
That's all I want to. I'm just here to help.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here.
That's good.
That's amazing. Well, horns up to Texas.
I know. Hook 'em Horns. They're having an amazing season. If you need any sequin Hook 'em Horn stuff or just like Hook 'em Horn hats, I have it all. Because
That's great.
Hook 'em Horns, because with Manning there now, it's like it's super exciting. So,
Yeah.
but also
This is y'all's
the
territory.
Huskies-
I don't know what's going on anymore.
Also, the University of Iowa Hawkeyes are amazing too. And actually, 3 different graduates currently from my hometown of Rock Rapids, Iowa, are playing on the Hawkeye team.
Nice.
It's amazing. I mean, college sports are great, and I actually love. I love college sports, and I'm an NFL follower too. So I actually
feel like
worked
most
on
people
the
love
Super
college
Bowl.
sport. Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
worked on the Super Bowl when it was in Minneapolis. I worked on the Super Bowl.
What did you
at-
do for the Super Bowl?
Well, okay, so I worked at the VIP lounge. Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
I worked at the VIP lounge, and I also was a team leader of. I was one of many team leaders for 10,000 volunteers at the Super Bowl.
Wonderful.
Wow.
And it was one of the coldest Super Bowls in history. It was so cold. It
Which
was so
Super Bowl
cold.
was this?
Well,
Do you
this
remember?
was actually 52.
Super Bowl
52.
Okay.
So it's been
My-
like 5 years.
My
Okay.
cousin's boyfriend is going to be doing sound for the halftime show this upcoming Super Bowl.
At
So,
where?
All I know is Kendrick Lamar playing. That's all I know. I don't know
Okay,
where
I
it
don't
is.
know.
I don't
The
remember.
Super Bowl
Wait.
this year is in New Orleans.
Is it?
Is
Okay.
it?
Okay. I don't know. I don't know
Well,
anything about sports.
after I worked at the Minnesota Super Bowl, I was asked to work at the Miami Super Bowl because that
Right.
was the following one, and I turned it down just because I should have did it, but I didn't. But I just thought I've kind of had enough. Okay,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah,
I'd
it's-
committed 3 years at that point, and I had some other things I had to go do, so I turned it down. But I would have loved to have done that one too, but I just, didn't do it.
Wonderful.
So.
Wonderful. This is
Nice.
great. Jordan.
Yeah, just as like, you know, girly things. I love your pants.
Thank you. You know what? Cancer Awareness
I knew.
Month. I know. I wish we all had them on.
I know. I do have pink pants. I think I've worn them in the. I wore them in the
have
Otter Mound
The
episode.
Otter Mound episode, you had full pink
Full
on, and I
pink.
think I
Yeah.
don't think I made fun of you for it. I might have, but I don't.
I love
remember.
all this too. I love all the other pink bling, but I do love pink pants. I do have a pink top, but I thought it might have been too much for the interview. I didn't want to be too much. So
I'm
So
City
professional
Councilor
on the
Barbie.
top, Barbie on the
I know.
bottom.
Well, interesting enough,
Uh-huh.
you just said Barbie. So last
Oh,
year
if you
at
could
the
also speak into the microphone.
yeah, last year at the Christmas
Uh-huh.
parade, I was part of the Christmas entry for the newcomers, which was the
Right.
Barbie one.
Okay.
The women, there was 75 women marching down in the.
That is
Pink
awesome.
gingham dress.
Witness. I did not
Okay,
witness.
did you
the,
see it? You didn't see?
Unfortunately,
Did you
I didn't.
see it,
I
Jordan?
didn't.
Jordan
I
was
was on a
in-
float.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay.
Jordan was the mermaid for the Copaculture float.
Yes.
Which
I have to tell
I need
you.
to pause really quick before we go on. This episode of Good Morning Marco is graciously sponsored by Cavaculture Marco Island. I would like to thank Cavaculture so much for sponsoring this episode and for allowing us to
Yay.
use this space very last minute because we realized yesterday that our other venue was not going to work for today's podcast. So Laura and Jason came in clutch very soon. So you can
Thank
come and
you.
visit them every day. They're open 8 to 2, and also happy hour is every day between 2 and 5. You can get half off shelves. Every Thursday is open mic night, and then coming up, since this is our election special, I'm advertising this, on election night, we will be having an event here to vote the best regular at Cavaculture Marco Island. It will be between the Jonathan Barr, Leanne Mattioli, and yours truly, Ryan Sullivan. So please come out to that and also vote. Please, not just in your local elections, but also for regular of the year. Thank you so much once again to Cavaculture Marco Island for sponsoring this episode of Good Morning Marco.
And
we'll get right back.
Support local business.
Yes.
Support local business. That's great that you did that. Okay. So,
As you were.
okay.
Were we discussing pink pants?
We're discussing pink pants.
Yes.
So, anyway, yes, I drove my Moki. I drive a Moki around the island, and we got. Best
I'm
to
uncultured. What is a Moki?
Okay. The Moki, the original Moki was developed by. Are we on right now?
Yes,
Okay.
we are.
So, talking about the Mokis, I do drive a Moki, and the original Moki was developed by the British during World War II.
Okay.
More history. Love history. Okay. So they parachuted them down, and they used them during World War II, but then eventually they started showing up on Caribbean islands.
Oh, okay.
So, but
Wait,
something.
so is this a
It
this
would
is a
look-
vehicle, I'm
It
assuming.
looks.
How
It's
you
a
should describe
vehicle. I would have drove it over tonight, but it's so windy.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you'll see it. I'll
Which
be posting.
apologies to the
I know.
audio
It's
listeners.
so windy. Okay. So anyway, but also an interesting fact about the Moki,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to the British developing and using it during World War II, is that the Moki has been featured in 4 James Bond movies. Okay. Live and Let Die, all the big movies. Okay. So just last year, it was the 60th anniversary of the Moki being in James Bond movies. So I already had a Moki before they came out with that Moki, but then I was like,
Right.
oh my gosh,
I need
I
that one.
need the James Bond Moki. And so I ordered it and I got it. It's amazing.
That's cool. That's
Okay.
cool. I love that.
And then so I had to sell my original Moki, of course, that was in the Christmas parade last year. But my James Bond movie will be in the Christmas parade
Well,
this
keep
year.
an eye out for
Yeah.
for Bonita's James Bond Moki.
Exactly. And
Awesome.
just for everybody who's watching, I'm going to give Ryan a little bit more work. We'll
Yeah.
insert a picture of what a Moki is right here.
Well,
For audio listeners, you got to Google it.
okay. Well, I'll follow up with you. I can send you
Okay.
a picture of my
Yeah.
Moki.
Oh, yeah. Please
I'm
send
so
me a
sorry
picture
that
of
during
your
it,
Moki.
it was just so windy.
Oh yeah.
It's
Well,
like been.
I mean, also sorry to both of y'all with the long hair.
No, well, you have long hair also.
Yeah, I know.
We
but
all
I
have long hair.
I'm business in the front, party in the back, so my
Well.
long hair doesn't really affect
It's
me.
okay. If you get a really funny part where it's all in my mouth, just turn it into a reel.
No,
Funny.
it's all good. So, but so the Mokis are super cool. They're super fun.
Cool.
And actually, my Moki goes 35 miles per hour.
Oh,
And so it's one
is
of
it
those.
turbocharged?
It's turbocharged. It looks like a miniature Jeep, kind of is what
Okay,
they look
so
like.
is it kind of like a cross between like a Jeep and a golf cart, like a much
It does
better
not
golf-
look like a golf cart.
Right.
Bless those who all have golf
Right.
carts, but it does not look like a golf cart. It looks like a Jeep.
Okay.
It looks like a Jeep.
So like a smaller open
a
air Jeep.
smaller open
Okay,
air
got it.
Jeep. And it's awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
I love that for you. I love that for you. I'm
And
glad
it
you've got
also
something
has-
you're passionate about.
Just so you know, it has a rev on it because it's the James Bond Moki.
Yeah.
So like when you're sitting at the stoplight, then we rev it.
Coming under
I
that,
love
Okay, I know. So
That's incredible. So
if you want to talk about anything other than my Moki, I can do that too. But I do love to
well,
talk
I
about.
was going to transition away.
Okay.
We spent the last like 5 minutes on it.
Okay.
So I do want to transition to ask you a little bit about your family, because I know very little about you. I only know from some of what I've read in the paper about you, some of what I've skimmed really. So
Right.
So you moved down to the island about 3 years ago because you
3.5
saw
years ago,
you
right.
saw the exit and you're just like, wow, I'm gonna go there. Did your due
Exactly.
diligence, found all the other islands?
Right.
It's like, okay, nope, Marco's the best one. I'm
Right.
staying there. So who are you down here with, and who you got in your next of kin?
Okay, so here's my next of kin. I have 4 wonderful children. None of them live here. And so my kids, so my oldest son, Sam, he's a firefighter, paramedic. He lives in the,
Wonderful.
he's a backcountry rescuer in Jackson, Wyoming.
Oh,
Okay,
great, yeah.
Jackson, Wyoming. He also has developed a foundation to deliver clean water to villages in Peru.
That's good. That's good.
So,
I love that. Mhm.
totally mindful, and it just such, I'm so proud of him for doing that. Then my oldest daughter, Sophia, she lives in South Dakota. And then my third child, Elijah, was killed actually 5 years ago in a pedestrian accident. And
My condolences.
thank you. And thank you for your blessings. And my youngest daughter lives in downtown Denver, Colorado. She's coming out here next week. I'm so
Wonderful.
excited to see her. She's a social worker.
Okay, cool.
So that's my family. I'm single. I'm a single lady, Beyonce, or you should sing it, Jordan. Jordan, can you sing that? See, Jordan's got it. Jordan's got it. Okay.
Is that the right dance move? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think
yeah,
it is.
I think so.
I
I'm
think
pretty
that
sure.
was the single lady move. So, way to go, Jordan. Okay, thank you. So that's my family. I actually, though, I have family. Of course, my my immediate family also lives in Iowa and South Dakota and California, and I have extended family all across the United States of America. So when I was zigzagging across America in
gotta
my
be able to stick
Airsy,
with
I
some
saw them
people.
all, you know,
Wonderful. That's
because
so
I
great.
just couldn't sit still. I just had to roll. I always said I could be a long haul driver
Yeah,
because I love to drive.
I feel you on that one. I'm giving you a
I
fist bump on
love
that. That's-
driving.
I do too.
I love that.
I bought my car in January, and I have put about 16,000 miles on
I
it this
love
year.
I
that.
feel that.
I
And
totally
I
love
haven't even
that.
gone on any road trips yet this year.
You got
And
to
I
get tripping. You got to
yeah,
get road
no,
tripping.
I'm planning on it.
Yeah,
I'm
you
trying
have
to
to do
plan some
that.
out. Yeah, I travel. I go from here to Texas all the time.
Well,
I've
being
got
a
friends in
University of
Longview.
Texas
Yeah.
graduate, I remember so when I was living in Iowa and then when I transferred down to University of Texas, it was a long drive. You couldn't make it in one day. I always had to stop and stay in Salina, Kansas. Okay, that
Right.
was halfway down. And then, but as a young person with all my possessions in
Yeah.
my back seat and trunk, I was checked into that hotel, but I was so worried that people were
Yeah.
gonna like take everything I had. So,
Yeah.
not to be weird,
But
but that
it
was my
did
whole
not
life.
happen, right?
No, it did
Okay.
not
Good. Good.
happen.
Good. Good. Good.
But I just worried about it. So,
Hmm.
and then I actually, I just stayed down there 2 years straight. Texas is a great state. Really
Oh
love
yeah.
that. Love Austin, Texas. That's where the University of Texas
Yeah.
is at.
Florida and
Hook 'em
Texas, we can agree on a
horns.
lot
I
of
know.
things.
I know. Well, actually, so I've had the fortunate opportunity to meet with different city people,
Right.
staff down there. And so when I had the opportunity to meet with our finance director at Marco Island, we were chiding each other because he also was an accounting major. And so when I went to
Hmm.
University of Texas, when it was the number one school in the nation for accounting
Hmm.
programs, he also was at Florida, which was like
Okay.
number two, and
Right.
then they go back number one, number two,
Yeah.
number
Switching.
two, and we talked about number one, number two. So it's
That's
interesting.
great. That's great.
It's great. He's very skilled. Just so you know, he's very skilled.
I would hope so.
He is. I know. That's a good thing.
I would
And
certainly
he
hope so.
is. And he totally is. He
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
is. He totally is. So.
Yeah. Jordan, do you have anything?
Um, no, my
Okay, I
my
can
mind
jump in.
like completely went blank.
So here I have a question for you. So, who would you say that your biggest role model is? If you had to pick somebody,
My
any,
dad.
your dad? Or so
My
why?
Okay.
I can imagine there's a myriad of reasons why.
Okay.
But if you'd like to share.
This is my dad.
Mhm.
Okay, so my dad, he's just always been my hero because number one, he was always so kind. And so my dad only went to school till 8th grade,
Mhm.
and then he helped my grandpa on the farm. And then he was in the army and for a short time because they released him to go back and help my grandpa. And this was a long time ago on the farm. But my dad, only going to school in 8th grade, and then he always wanted to be a cattleman.
Right.
He just wanted to do something other than farming is absolutely wonderful and great, but he wanted to be a cattleman. It's kind of like, the John Wayne cattleman
Yeah.
thing and stuff like that. And anyway, so my dad worked so hard. He started out, having one head of cattle, and then he got a straight truck and things like that. And he eventually became the largest bonded order buyer of cattlemen in the western states and was
Really?
on the National Cattlemen's Association. And it was all because he worked so hard and he was so kind and nice to everybody on the road. And so what I learned from him is that number one, you always be kind,
Mhm.
you always be on time, and you always listen more than you talk.
Right.
And that's
That's
what my
good.
dad taught me, and he's just my hero. So, and thank
That's
you for
wonderful.
asking.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you for
That's
asking.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really good. I like that a lot. That's a very good answer. We actually might have had some carryover because my dad worked for Curtis Breeding Industries. So
Oh,
he when he was in college, so he was one of the main carriers for Paclamar Astronaut, which is um, was the number one dairy stud in the
it's
entire United
huge.
States.
Yeah, that's
So,
huge.
so probably might have had some of my
Some
dad might have helped.
crossover,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's very interesting
Mhm.
because it's a very close community,
Mhm.
when you do things like this with the beef and the
Mhm.
dairy producing industry and also the pork industry too. I was an attorney and I
Right.
practiced after I left. I also worked for Governor Branstad of Iowa. I was on
Okay.
his personal staff, and
Wonderful.
I oversaw 5 state departments for him, and I advised him on budget and policy for revenue and the Department of Iowa Revenue and
So you've
Finance.
been in this for a while.
Yeah, I've been in this. I know how to do this.
Yeah.
It's kind of, Department of Health, Department of Human Services, Human Rights, Civil Rights, and I've done a lot of this. But then also in my private practice of law, I also, I represented Murphy Farms, which at the time that
Yeah.
I represented them, they were the biggest pork producers in the nation.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the crossover, and we all cross over with that
Oh, yeah.
because, they're hard businesses.
Oh, yeah.
But like every small business is really hard. And this is one of the reasons I am so compelled about Marco Island. It's small business, which is
Oh, yeah.
it's our engine here.
We have very few like big franchises
And
on
I
campus.
love
We got
that.
McDonald's, Starbucks, Marriott. That's about it.
Exactly. It's our
Domino's,
small
okay, yeah.
businesses that are the engines here on Marco Island, and we all are so appreciative of, and we all enjoy their services,
yeah.
because I make a point of just staying on the island and using the
Yeah,
services
trying
here.
to stick to
I
stick
do.
to around here. Get
Absolutely.
support our local people, support our
Absolutely.
local business owners.
You know,
all that.
I actually so I've never done Facebook my whole life, but I
Right.
started it with this campaign,
Yeah.
and that's how I met you.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I met you. Okay, and something that I always highlight is support our small businesses because it is so important. And we've had some challenging times with the hurricanes, but
Oh, yeah.
also, the inflation.
Oh, and we're starting again. Welcome back. We had a short production break because the soundboard died again. Once again, Murphy's Law. If you watched yesterday's or Monday's episode. So, with that, we completely forgot exactly what we were discussing, but y'all had a phenomenal conversation while I went to go get
Yes.
batteries. So,
We did.
Jordan, go ahead and take over.
So, I mean, if you wouldn't mind sharing with everybody else what your inspiration for running.
Thank you for asking, Jordan. And I do have to say, I have a niece named Jordan also, and she's beautiful like you with long dark
Thank
hair.
you.
So you look gorgeous. Okay. Yes. While you were gone,
Mhm.
but we're glad you came back.
Wonderful,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. We're glad you came back.
Good.
So
All right.
here was my inspiration for running for City Council of Marco Island. I I read our local papers, the
Right.
Coastal Breeze, the Marco Eagle, and then I saw on the front page that there were going to be 4 open spots on our city council.
Right.
And in addition to that, those people who were elected were going to appoint a 5th council person,
Yes.
which meant 5 of the spots on city council out of only 7 members
Yeah.
were basically up for election,
grabs, yeah.
up for grabs. And it just worried me. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh my gosh. Because with my past history in government practice and as an attorney with all these different, organizations, nonprofit, profitable organizations that I've represented, I knew that a shift of policy could definitely change what our island would be forever.
Right.
And I just was so concerned about that. So, like everybody here in Marco Island, because there are so many volunteer service organizations on this island who
Right.
step up, and there's so many private donors who just make this island wonderful.
Right.
I just was like, oh my gosh. And they step up because they have the skill set to help.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I have the skill set to help this.
Yeah.
I've done this. I was on Governor Brandt's staff. I've overseen multi-million-dollar budgets and given him recommendations on that. I'm an attorney that I personally have drafted substantial legislation and administrative rules. So I knew I had the skill set to do this. And also, since I got here 3.5 years ago, I've become very involved in the community. So I volunteer at the Marco Island Historical Museum, which, and I actually just this last 2024 spring season, I received the President's Award for my volunteerism.
Congratulations.
And also from Collier County, I received an award of my volunteerism there too. I volunteer at the Chamber of Commerce. I'm also on the Marco Islands Women's Club. I also am on, just recently joined the Marco Island Bike Path Committee. Okay. I'm also on the newcomers of Marco Island,
You're
and I'm on
involved
the
in a
board of
lot of community
directors,
stuff. Yeah.
and I'm the chairperson of membership there. So every new member who wants a new person who moves here or has lived here for a while, I'm their first contact, and
Cool.
I tell them all about the wonderful things about Marco Island. I also am on the Cape Marco Cozumel Building Board of Directors.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm fully involved in this community.
You already had an impressive resume before you.
Okay,
moved here, so.
well, I just, whatever I do, just like, and I've done this historically because, in South Dakota, I was the chairperson of Make-A-Wish Foundation of South
Wonderful.
Dakota. And actually, when I was the chairperson, we received the National Award for Outstanding Chapter.
That's incredible.
Nice.
I know,
Congrats.
and I also am very involved in Big Brothers Big Sisters, mission
That's
boards, Door of Faith missions. I've been doing this all just because that's who I am. I step up for my community, and that's why I stepped up for our community here in Marco Island, because
Right.
I knew I have a skill set to help like everybody else does, and they step up for what their skill set is. I'm not saying that I'm no better than anybody else. We're all the same. But if you have some particular skills, like with my law degree and my accounting degree,
Exactly.
I have the skills.
I mean that's important. I'm a very strong Christian, and
I am
it's
also. I'm a
wonderful.
very strong
Good,
Christian.
Good. All right. I have some people who will be watching this podcast that will probably be good. It's like I know who I'm voting for.
Good.
So,
Yeah, I'm a very strong Christian.
So I truly believe that like we are all put here for a purpose, and we are given. Some of us are given God-given abilities that are. It doesn't necessarily always have to pertain to ministry. Now I went that route because I do this, but for ministry off the island
It's
at
wonderful.
Faith Church. So I am extreme. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm fairly talented with video production.
You're not tooting your own horn. You're just telling what your
Well,
skill set is, and that's
right, and
wonderful
it's-
because we need to
Yes,
know.
yeah.
So that's a wonderful thing.
So I'm very good with tech stuff, and also with all matters of video production, sound design, and all those sorts of things. So using those talents that I believe are supernaturally given to me, I'm using that like on not just on the ministry side, but for what is going to make the world in general a better place. So I love that you're someone who's definitely recognized the skill set that they have and are here for such a time as this, for this time. So I love that you're like, it's like, well, it's like, did you come down here to retire, or did you come down here for was it work, leisure, or
I came down here because I took the exit to Marco Island. Okay.
right,
Okay.
and that was it.
That was it. I took the exit, and I was like, wow, Jolly Bridge.
Yeah.
Woo. Okay, we all did that same thing. But you know what? Everywhere I lived, I'm so engaged in my
Right,
community
right.
because I believe in service. I have done this my whole life because I'm not living anywhere without serving my community.
Right.
Because I
And
care
that's
about my
exactly my
community.
point,
It's
yeah.
always about service, and that's who I am. And that's why I'm running.
And
That's,
now we got the elevator pitch down.
yeah. Okay. Okay.
No, so no, I love that because you know your skills, and you're not afraid to say, it's like, I have all of this in my arsenal. So
Right.
that's
I only say that
refreshing.
because I'm
It's
trying to
refreshing.
help. I am
Right,
only saying
absolutely.
because, there's so many gifted, talented people. But everybody makes different choices because, as you were just talking about, some people come here to retire to enjoy. They've
Right.
worked so hard and things like
Yeah.
that, and they've chosen now to not be involved in things,
Right.
and that is wonderful. That's totally wonderful. But I'm that person who always like,
No matter
I'm
where
in
you
a,
are, you're going to go
I'm in a
go-go.
community. I'm doing it.
Right,
Okay,
right.
because that is. I should do that. That's
Mhm.
how I feel about being in a community. You serve the community.
Right.
I've always been about
So
service.
I have a question for you to sort of like pivot onto a slightly different topic. Um, so you've been on Marco
Three and a
for
half
three and a
years.
half years, and it's actually really it's funny that that's the case because we just interviewed Becky Irwin, and on that episode, we were talking about how most of the people we've gained about 2 to 4,000. What do you remember the number? How many?
Not
We
exactly the
went from
number, just the large influx
14,000
of
to
people.
There's
16,000
16,000
voters.
people here. I only
Right.
know this because I volunteer at the Chamber of
Right.
Commerce. So I know
But
this
so
number.
you're
Yes.
you're among a majority of people that have moved or made their full-time residence Marco within the past 4 years.
Correct.
So in that, you don't really know what Marco was like years ago, other than your strong connection to history as well,
Right.
because you love history and everything.
Right.
So being someone who is in the grand scheme, very new to the island.
Right.
What has been some of your favorite things about Marco? Because I mean, Marco's a super unique place, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to start this podcast. Because I mean, I couldn't start this podcast about I don't know normal Illinois.
Right.
What's some of your favorite things about Marco?
So I'm a fresh perspective on Marco
Right.
Island, and that is part of the reason that I sometimes you need new eyes on things,
Absolutely.
you know. This is what I loved about Marco Island when I went there. Immediately, the historical museum.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I just got so excited to learn that this beautiful place, because this is a beautiful island. This is a beautiful island. But then when you learn the history about the island, it becomes amazing.
Oh yeah.
It is amazing. So the history to me is just so important to me and
Right.
is my number one favorite
That's
thing
cool.
about
That's
the
cool. Right.
island,
Wonderful.
because it's always about, like we talked about Roosevelt, the
Yeah.
history. I love the history of it. But I will tell you that I have become very involved in the island, and there are so many just good, wonderful people on this island.
Right.
So I love the people. But I also love that. So prior to being in here, that here at Marco Island, I lived in a lot of remote ranches. I owned
Right.
ranches in the West, and where you'd have to drive like an hour before you saw people and things like
Right.
that. I love this small island because I bike it all the time,
Right.
and you see all the neighborhoods and things. But I love the progressiveness of the island, that we have these wonderful local businesses. We
Right.
have wonderful local businesses who it makes it glamorous.
Oh yeah.
We are a glamorous island, and that goes right back to the history of the Mackel brothers.
Yeah.
You can read it in our modern museum gallery at the Historical Museum. No, I can talk to you about
This
this all
episode
day
is
long.
sponsored. No.
Okay, no, I know. I love the Historical Museum. No, you can read about that the Mackles wanted this to be a community. That's why they established, in the original drawings, Residence Beach, all of the
All the schools.
churches, the schools. They did all that, but they wanted this to be they wanted to be a community where families were, because the Mackle brothers established several others, like Spring Hills
Right.
and other communities all
I'm
around
actually
Florida.
not familiar with the other.
I am.
Well, wonderful.
Okay, we can talk about that in another episode, because I can talk about all that.
That'd be great.
too.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll also have to
so-
have a part 2 for this one.
I know. But they wanted it to be a community different than the retirement communities that they established the other way.
Right.
They wanted this to be a thriving family community. And that's
Absolutely.
why they drew in Residence Beach. They did all these things. And they knew that it had to have a very progressive business community too,
Right,
to
yeah.
keep the wheels turning.
Absolutely.
And look at all our wonderful, we have over 400 chamber members here.
Wow.
It's amazing. We
Wow, I
have,
didn't know that.
it's wonderful. And we need that, because those are the things that we, as living here in Marco Island, look at us sitting right here, right here, the Cava and stuff. This is wonderful. that it's available to us.
Mhm.
And we need a community that keeps these businesses here that we can
Absolutely.
enjoy and be
That's so good.
progressive with it.
That's so good. All
Okay.
right. So I want
Okay.
to. Oh no, I was just checking the time to see how much
Okay.
time we
No,
have
it's
left.
great.
We're good. So I want to give you a couple of rapid fire questions, and just
Absolutely.
like to see.
Yep.
It's like I to specifically about Marco.
Great.
So let's see. First, favorite restaurant on the island. If you had to pick between your favorite children,
Okay.
what's your favorite
Oh my
restaurant on the island?
gosh. This is really hard.
I know, no, it is. I don't know the answer to this question either.
Oh my gosh, because I
Or we could pick cuisine and then
Right.
go that way.
Okay.
So if you wanted a fine dining experience,
Okay,
where are you
so-
going?
This is coming from a woman who drinks bone broth for breakfast.
Okay.
Okay. Do you drink bone broth?
I haven't in a while, not since
Okay.
my mom made it for me. So it's been it's been
Jordan,
about
do you
5
drink
years.
bone
I
broth?
do not.
Well, I'd be more than happy to bring you some bone broth tomorrow if you like.
I would definitely love
Okay,
to try
good.
it.
So I'm always very conscientious about all my healthy things that I
Right.
eat and all. But if I'm going out, I go out for two things. Okay. Coming from a family owned cattle company.
I was imagining.
Oh my gosh.
I had an
I
idea.
love the great
Mm.
beef, the great cuts of meat. I love that. And I have a huge weakness for Italian. Okay. Because when you go Italian, I love the meatballs, I love the bread, I love the garlic.
When you go Italian, you know there's
You
no going
know,
back.
There's no coming back. So those are my favorite cuisines.
Okay.
And there's, you know what we're so lucky about? There's great restaurants
Oh,
here
yeah.
in Marco Island for those cuisines. I love it.
So, if you need to get a steak, where are you going? I'm giving the tough question now.
Okay, so Marco Prime.
Marco Prime. All right, I was because I knew it was probably between Ario's and Marco Prime. 'Cause
Right.
Ario's in the Marriott,
Which
I've
is-
never been actually.
And it's wonderful. I've been to both of them, and they're both excellent. So my brothers, I have two brothers who are still in the cattle industry,
Right.
cattle business, and they love Marco Prime too.
That's good.
But
That's good.
Ario's is, I've only been there once.
Right.
And
I-
it's off the charts.
One day
It
I'll
was
have
g-
enough.
I've only
um,
been there. I was
yeah.
a guest. I
Oh,
was a
great.
guest. Someone brought me there as a guest. Okay.
One of these days I'll have enough in the reserves to go get that
Well, make sure you have
golden
enough- make sure you
35 day
have enough
aged
in the- I know,
tomahawk
I
steak.
know.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah,
And it
they
was-
have a
it's
35-day
wonderful.
aged
I know.
tomahawk steak. They have they literally have this proprietary fungus that they use. No, I'm serious. A proprietary fungus that they use only at Ario's.
I know.
To
It's
age their
amazing.
steak. And I remember during
Interesting.
Hurricane Irma,
amazing.
they had all of the world's supply of this fungus that they took with the head chef took with him to go. It's crazy. It's a crazy story. I'd love to interview that guy
Well,
someday
I would
as
like
well.
to throw something out about
Go ahead.
JW. I'd like to say thank you, Fred, head of the valet. He's so kind.
Mm-hmm.
I pull up in my Moki all the time. And went to Ario's in my
Yeah.
Moki. He's
Wonderful.
always so kind and gracious. And
That's good.
he's, the JW is fabulous with customer service, and Ario's is amazing. I've only been there once.
Okay, so
but
it's easy to pick Marco Prime because you know what you're going to get yourself
right.
into.
It's
okay.
Their
So,
cuts are fabulous.
Next question: coffee or tea?
I'm a tea drinker. I've never drank coffee my whole life.
Really?
Never,
at
never,
all?
never,
Now,
ever.
when you say never, is it like you tried it and you're like, not my
I've
thing?
never tried
Or
it.
you've
I have
never
never
even tried it?
Never
Wow.
ever tried coffee. Here's the reason. Okay, so coming from this family business and our
Right.
office was in our home, my mom would drink like 2 big huge pots of coffee all day long. I love the smell and the scent of it, but I was like, I'm never going to drink that in my whole life.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I love tea. I drink my bone broth every morning, but
Right.
then I also drink ginger and turmeric tea every day also. I love my teas. I love peppermint tea.
That's
I am I'm a tea person.
good. So if you are going, I don't actually know anywhere other than here that you can get good tea on the island. Because I'm not I really have only become a tea drinker since I started coming here. So do you do all of your tea drinking at home, or do you
I
have
do
somewhere
my
that you'd
tea
like to go?
drinking at
Would you go to
home.
Brambles or something like
Well,
that?
I do my tea drinking at home, but if I am on an occasion that I'm
Hmm.
out somewhere, I always order tea.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
order coffee or anything like that. But I just I love tea.
Wonderful.
I love tea.
Wonderful. All right.
Jordan, do you love tea?
I would say I definitely lean a little more coffee. I like tea
We're
sometimes.
Gen
Okay.
Z. We are
Yeah,
coffee,
I'm
coffee, coffee all day
definitely.
long.
Ever.
Let's see. Because my next question was going to be, where do you stop for coffee? But I guess that isn't a good
That's
question.
not on the
Um,
thing.
Jordan, do you have any other?
Well, I was gonna kind of like loop back to the Marriott real quick. You said you kind of go there often, and I was wondering,
Well,
like, do you
not
go to the
that
arcade? Do
often.
you?
Okay, I do take my guests to the
Oh,
arcade on the
microphone.
fifth floor. I
Yeah.
take my guests to the fifth floor arcade
Yeah.
because it's amazing. So my high school friends come in every year, and we go and shoot basketball up there because they have the
Oh,
basketball.
Yeah.
And then my daughter with her kids come up, and we do the bowling there. They have
Yeah.
those mini bowling alleys. That arcade is amazing.
it
It's an
is.
amazing. So you enjoy it, Jordan, apparently.
Yes, I mean it's just
Are
a
you a
very
basketball
amazing.
shooter or a bowler?
I'm definitely better at basketball than bowling.
Okay, okay.
But it's just I always think of that as a very unique spot on the island.
Oh yeah.
It's very unique, and I don't know if you know this or not. So the JW Marriott only has 2 beach locations in
Right.
the world.
Mhm.
It's here at Marco Island and Dubai. Is there other beach?
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
history, know it all. Not to
Great.
tote it, but I
Not
just
to toot your own horn, but
no, I just enjoy it so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Mhm.
I always, wherever I go, and that's why I enjoy Marco Island so much, because if you learn about the history, so in my little
Right.
Moki, I take people on the magical Moki history tour all the time. And I could take both of you, and
I'd love to.
so, you
Well,
know, the
I
chamber.
actually used to run the Marco Mystery and History tours on Marco.
No!
Well, I used to be one of the tour guys. I didn't run
Okay.
it. Never ran it.
What was that?
But,
I don't know what that
so
is.
right now, it's not really. We're not running anywhere near as often as we used to, but I highly recommend it. Gina Sesparo owns and operates it. Marco Mystery and History Tours. I'm pretty sure it's marcomysteryandhistorytours.com. I know it's shifted a lot recently, but they are booking private tours right now.
Are they doing like a regular public one on the 25th? I saw something about that on the board inside of the Kava bar.
That's a Kava specific thing, so
Oh,
I don't really know.
okay. Interesting.
All I know is that things have shifted a ton since what is it? The Bistro Soleil shut down. Bistro Soleil had to
Right,
close
I
after
know,
Hurricane
yeah,
Ian.
right.
So because that place is chocked full of history. Because that
Absolutely.
was
When people
Captain
talk about their
Collier's,
Christmases,
yeah.
yeah, Captain Collier landed
Mhm.
right there in the point and stuff. So, well, so
Mhm.
my magical Marco history Moki tours, there's no charge. It's just friends of mine
That's wonderful.
their family comes in, and then I pick them up on my
What
Moki.
are your stops on that?
Well,
Mm.
you probably are aware of this, but
sure.
at the Chamber of Commerce has 13 different specific areas, and we have a map of
Of
our
historical
historical
sites.
tour. So no,
Okay.
it's of the Chamber of Commerce did this actually,
Yeah.
and it's the 13 most historical spots on Marco Island.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I bring my people in my Moki for their tour, okay, just
love it.
like friends of friends.
I feel like you should be sponsored by Moki.
Yeah.
No, I should be. You know, I could. James
You
Bond.
gotta tag them. Yeah.
I know,
The Moki
absolutely.
who loved me.
But I know.
Moki
No,
Royale.
I know. But so I take them to all the different 13 spots, the finding of the Key Marco cat,
Yes.
the original Marco Inn. I do all those. Indian Hills, the Heights Hotel, Tommy Barfield's hotel up there,
Yes.
the oyster,
The,
clam thing. I do all that.
Paxamba Cemetery.
Absolutely. Where William Collier and his 3 children are
Yeah,
buried
George
right
Thomas
over
and
there.
Wilmer,
Yep.
Which
mhm.
actually isn't that.
I need this map. I need to go learn all this stuff.
It's-
George Thomas and Wilmer isn't that Captain Bill Collier's children? not.
I think you are.
Yeah, because it's Grandpa
you are
and the
right.
3 kids.
William Collier is buried there,
yes.
but then Bill
Collier
Collier's
is up in
3.
Fort Myers,
Right,
believe,
he's buried up there, but his 3 kids are buried here, and it was such a sad story,
yes.
About that. And we won't get into that now, but I know you know the sad story.
I do know the
it's
story.
A very
I'm probably
going
to have Gina share it when she comes onto the podcast.
It is.
She joins.
It's a sad story.
Yeah, when she joins the tour.
It's a sad story. It's a really sad story and things like that. So, but yes, so actually, I'm going to jump into my Chamber of Commerce volunteer work that I do.
Go ahead,
we put out this beautiful catalog called the Destinations Catalog out of the Chamber of Commerce. And on page 83, we have I
love the specifics.
Okay, because I promote this. I volunteer. I'm the Tuesday girl at the Chamber of Commerce. Okay. I'm the Tuesday girl. Okay, so I work the front desk at the Chamber. And then I am also at the greeter desk at the Historical Museum. So on page 83, we have laid out the 13 locations by map of these markers, and then also the descriptions of all the marcos. It's wonderful.
We should do
a
sequel to the trolley episode.
That's what I'm
What is the trolley episode?
Okay, so this is actually...
I don't know if I want to know this.
Okay. Well, so I'll go over it really quick, but this is... The trolley episode is the whole reason we're actually even doing this.
Really?
Because with the trolley episode, it wasn't even a full episode of the podcast. It started, we did an episode about that empty lot over there that they want to turn into a restaurant with a drive-through.
Right.
We did a full episode about that.
Okay.
And then, was it Tony? Or... the guy who owns the lot came by, and
dun, dun,
it's Joey's like nephew or something.
Right.
So he comes by, and while we're in the middle of recording the episode, like almost on his property, we're on this sidewalk, so we're not actually on the property. And he's like, "I'd love to come and do an episode next week and do a Zoom interview and everything."
I hope he did it.
Well, he never got back to me. I gave him my phone number. I didn't get his phone number. So he never got back to me. So I'm like, well, there's 2 controversies going on the island right now. There's that thing. And I've heard a bunch of people talking about this trolley. And we had the idea, let's follow the trolley route. Jordan, you were there. You can explain this.
I mean...
all of a sudden, okay.
Basically, my house is near one of the stops
for the trolley, the proposed trolley.
Yes.
Okay.
And we were like, we'll just go ahead and drive the route, see how long it would take, see what's plausible, what's not, just kind of give some good constructive criticism.
We didn't like the route.
We didn't. So we came back here, we grabbed one of the maps that's
those
over
free
by
maps
the brewery
that are
and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And we grabbed one of the maps we're drawing. We've got the different colored Sharpies. Like, okay, this route would be main. This one would be, secondary. This would be ideal. All this stuff. Talked to a couple people that were at the Kava Bar, and we got a general consensus. So while I was out of town, Ryan went to the city council meeting.
So on the city council meeting where they approved the budget,
right? They had to fund the 200.
Yes.
They didn't have to fund it, but they did fund it.
Microphone.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you could say that again, because you didn't say it.
So I wasn't at that city council meeting, but up was if they would fund the $200,000 study or not, and they did fund it.
Correct. So I was there at that meeting. I think I actually wore this exact same outfit. And then I had my plaid navy jacket.
Okay.
But so when I went to go speak at the meeting, I basically took I digitized our maps that we made. I took Jordan's map because I hated mine, and I made a copy for I made a copy for each of the city council members, the current sitting city council members, and I gave each of them a map. 2 of the councilors did not accept the map. I won't name and claim who they are, but I
want to ask you who didn't accept it.
I didn't even know this bit of information.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Which one of them wasn't actually present? They were over Zoom. So
well, then I know who that was. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You've given it away.
Which I mean, I didn't even be able to. I wasn't able to give Councilor Folly one, so it's not accurate that that he didn't accept it. There was one council member who just walked right by me as I offered it to them. But so I presented it at the city council meeting, and then
glad you did that.
In Becky Irwin's closing arguments about the whole thing.
Right.
She said, and I just want to give a big thank you to Ryan Sullivan and Jordan Kraley from the Good Morning Marco podcast. I watched the entire episode you did about the trial. And she goes on and sings our praises. And then immediately I call Jordan. I'm like, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm all the way in Alabama where like half the time I have service, half the time I don't.
Right.
Jordan, we need to
My
do
phone's
6
going,
episodes in 2 weeks.
I actually watched the live stream
Okay.
of the meeting. I was
You were upset because I didn't come with notes.
I was like, Ryan, stop saying I can tell you're nervous. But
Well, I wasn't shaking, so I was fine.
Well, something happened. I was not at that meeting.
Right.
But I watched it the next day, and actually something happened at that meeting. They brought my name into that meeting during public testimony.
Oh.
So
That might have been when I was outside trying to ask someone for the for help trying to put in the public testimony thing because no one was talking to me.
And I've not talked about this public, but I will share this with you because you two are being so conscientious and you rode the route and you did all that. So at that public hearing then, during public testimony, I don't know if it was before or after you.
I was the last person to speak,
then it
so
was,
definitely
before you.
yeah.
Okay, it was before you. So one of the anti-trolley people made a presentation, and he said, just so you know, Bonita Schwan, which is not my last name. My last name is Schwan.
I knew I had it right.
I
Cool.
know. But I have ridden a lot of Schwan bikes in my life. Okay, so just so you know.
Cool,
So
okay.
I wasn't offended. I kind of like the Schwan name, so it's fine. Okay, so anyway, he said Bonita Schwan, who's a candidate for the city council, took a survey of residents in Marco Island and of over 2,500 people, and 75% of them said they do not want the trolley. Okay,
Did
so
you do that?
no, I never took a survey. And I try to stay out of the fray. I don't get in the fray, and I've never told this to anybody else because I didn't want to go back to public testimony and say, hey, that's not
so
accurate. But I will tell you this because you're being kind enough to talk about it, and you've done your research on it.
Right.
I never did that. I've never done a survey. I've never said I did a survey. And so when
That's
he was
insanely
doing that,
odd.
and I actually was entertaining some honeymooners at my place from
Okay.
South Dakota and couldn't be at that council meeting. And so we were out, and people are texting me, did you do a survey? I was like, what? I don't do no survey. Are you Bonita Schwan? I know.
Well, no, it was Bonita Schwan. It wasn't you.
Bonita Schwan. It was on me. No, that was
I'm sorry.
Bonita.
That is absolutely
That was
hilarious.
Bonita Schwan. I know, and I've never ever talked about it because I just don't like to get in the fray about things. I stay
Which you're
out
fine
of
if we post this.
you
Right?
can
Okay.
do that. I'm fine with that because now I do think that because it's become so. If people are relying on that I did that, I never did that.
Which it passed, so
I have
we'll see
no
what
idea.
happens.
And it's passed. Here's what I've always said about, because I get asked a lot about the whole Charlie thing. I said, you know what? It's passed.
Yeah.
It is passed. So this
What's
is
done
the
is
time
done.
to quit talking about it. You know what? We're going to gather the facts. We're going to actually gather, hopefully, stop information and, sensibilities. But
And maybe
so
turn those benches around that are all facing the wrong direction.
yeah, well, exactly. And here's my big thing. So what I do with every issue with my law and accounting degree, I'm gonna look at it legally,
Right.
see the legal issues about it. I'm also gonna look at, with my accounting degree, the financial costs of this.
Yeah.
You know what? Our budgets, like I was talking kind of early about the inflation when your battery cut out, our budgets at the city are on steam already. We
Yes.
hardly have anything. We're okay, but we can't. The thought of what would it cost for the city to do this? So you have to, you not only look at the legal things, you have to look at the financial aspects. We can talk about issues till we're blue in the face, but if we don't have the money, you can talk all you want, but if we
Right.
don't have the money, it's not going to happen. So then quit talking about it.
Right.
Okay.
Because we are the most fiscally conservative city in Florida, I believe so.
Well, we're the safest city in Florida.
That too,
We're
yes.
the safest city. But then I look at three things when I look at this trolley thing, and I'm not looking at it yet because we have to get those facts back. The third thing is the safety issue. The safety issue of, this trolley stopping and people using it. And I'll be very forthright with you about this. I had a son who was killed as a pedestrian crossing the street, which I shared with you. There's huge safety issues about because, this is another vehicle that would be stopping in our streets, and we have to learn to navigate, the landscapers who are there and everybody else. But there's safety issues that we have to take in consideration too. And I'm not coming in with any decisions about any of this, because I do this with my legal training and what I practice. I do this all the time. And that's how you have to address our city of Marco Island issues.
Absolutely.
It's
At this
very
point, it's
important
more
to
of a
me.
thought experiment because it's
It
passed.
is.
Yeah.
It's passed. So and I do believe in that. I've been just with my private practice and everything like that. You can't pound the sand on things. You have to find the middle road. You have to do what's best for a community and the long vision of the community. And to say it's our way or no way, that never works.
Absolutely.
Nothing ever passes that way. And that's what's happened with the short-term rentals when they pass that huge document. That was not going to withstand the legal challenges, and they knew that. So I'll quit talking.
Oh, that's totally
But
fine. That's totally
I'll quit talking.
No, definitely. One thing is that I feel like Marco needs to be better at compromising.
They do.
Yeah,
They do.
I think that's a thing that there's I have gone on record, I don't know how many times, saying that there are so many people here who are just genuinely afraid of change, and in no matter if it's good or bad, because we can, like you said, we can argue till we're blue in the face if it's good or bad change, but I mean, at least giving the opportunity for new things to happen, because I mean, Marco is not the same place it was 20 years ago. No. I can say that for sure. I've lived here for 22 years.
But the Mackles planned for that. The Mackles planned that this was always going to be a community of families and tourists and part-time residents, and it needed to be progressive to be the wheels for the tax base, and also to be this beautiful, glamorous place. It's glamorous here, and it's beautiful. So we need to keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
And
That's so
weigh
good.
all the other things, but this is a historical, beautiful island.
Absolutely, yes. This has been a phenomenal discussion. I think we're about ready to wrap up here. Is there, Jordan? Is there anything that you wanted to ask before we do wrap up?
Nothing really to ask. Just more of I've really enjoyed the conversation
Absolutely.
and getting to know all of the little fun facts you
We'll
have.
have to make a part 2 at some point in the future.
I would do that part 2.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
It'll be on the Moki.
I know.
Official.
In the Moki, and we'll put the Teddy Roosevelt bust in the back seat with us. The 3 of us and Teddy Roosevelt driving around Marco Island.
The Moki episode.
I brought the Teddy here now.
Wonderful.
I have him here.
That's so good. That's so good. Well, official friend of the podcast now, Bonita Schwan. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything that you want to look into that camera right there and tell anybody watching at home, any closing things that you want to say?
My only closing thing would be thank you.
Absolutely.
This was so enjoyable.
I'm so glad that you're echoing that. That's
thank you. This was so enjoyable. I've never done any podcasts before, but it's very special to me because I can tell you two really care about this island.
Absolutely.
We all care about the island, but it's very cool, very chic. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah.
It was great to have you.
Well,
nice sitting next to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bonita. So with that, do want to say real quick, this episode is, of course, sponsored. I do want to say a very big thank you to Kava Culture Kava Bar of Marco Island, from Jason and Laura for so graciously allowing us to do our episode out here today. As you can see, I finished my entire drink.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, with their furniture and stuff. So I want to give a huge thank you to Jason and Laura for that. Once again, happy hour is every day between 2 and 5. Anything you get in a shell is half off. And then also every Thursday, starting at 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. is open mic night with the wonderful Charlie Pace. So come down here with your instruments
love
and your
Charlie
voices
Pace.
ringing. Yeah, I love Charlie Pace so much.
Yeah.
So come down here with your voice and your instruments ready as well. Don't forget, on election night, I'll be here, as well as we'll be having a mock debate between myself, the Jonathan Barr, and Leanne
That will be
Mattioli.
interesting.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun.
Okay.
I have already bought my wig, and
Okay.
I've been working on the most greatest impression
Oh
anyone's
my
ever
gosh.
heard. Many people have
Oh
been
my
telling
gosh.
me, even the people who don't agree with me, have saying, Ryan, I walked in here and I said, that's a great Trump impression.
Okay.
A great. So it's going to be a fun time. So we'll see you on November 5th here at the Kava Culture Kava Bar. I also want to give a special thank you to Cisparo Acne Studio for providing us our venue for the rest of all of these episodes for our election weeks special, counting down to November 5th. I am so excited to see where we're going. Don't forget to follow us on all platforms and stay tuned, because we have another episode coming out in 2 days, and then another episode coming out on Monday, and then another one coming out on Wednesday, and another one coming out on Friday, and then another one coming out that Monday, and then we're going to take off for a little bit.
Yay!
No,
And I'm
it
going to
doesn't
be back
stop.
here at the Kava tomorrow. I'm going to
Yes.
stop down tomorrow at the
Wonderful,
Kava. just so
wonderful.
you know.
Well, they have great teas, so you're
So-
gonna love it.
I know it's my place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Bonita,
too.
where can our audience find you?
VoteBonita.org.
Wonderful.
So Bonita is spelled Bonita, in case you don't know.
Exactly the same as the Springs.
I know people say to me, "Oh, Bonita Springs." No, Bonita Schwan. So,
Schwinn
so
Schwan.
I have a
Schwinn
friend
Schwan.
at the museum. They
Schwinn
say,
Schwan.
they say, "What the Schwan?" Okay,
Your Schwan song.
I know the Schwan
Oh.
song. I have so many things like
That's
that.
so it's votebonita.org.
VoteBonita.org.
Wonderful.
And I'd be so humble if you visit my site, and so gracious and appreciative if you vote for me.
Wonderful.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
That's the first time someone said vote for me on here. I'm
I
calling
know,
it.
sorry. You asked.
No.
You
I-
asked.
okay.
You
Get
asked.
to coin
So,
it first.
Okay.
To just peel back the curtain for a little bit, I'm letting all the candidates talk about whatever we want to talk about, and I'm having so much fun doing personality most and talking about, like, we don't have to talk about issues. So this has been so much fun getting to know you, because
So
I mean,
fun.
I can't get to know you from a Coastal Breeze article. I'm just
I
saying.
know,
I love the
this
Coastal
is
Breeze,
great.
and
We
we
all
have an
love the
interview
Coastal
coming up with
Breeze.
Don in just in a little bit. So very excited for that as well. So Jordan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at JGKraley03. You can find me on Instagram also on the Good Morning Marco Pod.
There's no the. It's just Good Morning Marco Pod.
Very true.
Yes.
I'm
of
following
course,
you.
when I saw.
I'm
I just
following
got the
you.
notification earlier
Following
today.
you.
And you know who's not following us is Becky. So I'm gonna
Oh,
have to have
she'll
a talk.
follow you.
She probably subscribes on YouTube.
She
Yeah.
does, yeah. So with that, you can find me. All of my links are at www.ryanmsullivan.com. You can find everything from this podcast to the Pickle Jar podcast to my events hosting service to some of my video projects and some of my music projects. Also, you can find links to all my social media there. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Real Ryan Sullivan. That's RealRyanSullivan. Number 7, number 1, number 4, number 2, number 6. Number
Not
5,
every
number 3.
episode.
I'll explain later. So, thank you so much for watching. And once again, a massive thank you to Bonita Schwan
thank
for
you.
appearing on
Thank
this
you.
episode.
Again, I love the
Get
pants.
out. And
We're the
a special
girls
shout
of the
out.
pink pants.
Yeah, special shout
Yes.
out for Breast Cancer Awareness
Yes,
Month
absolutely.
as well. So with that, make sure November 5th, keep up with us for these election specials that we're working on. And with that, I believe that's all there is. So, thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the most. And I will see you all in the next one.
I'm doing whatever Jordan does. Okay.
I will see you all in the next one. Bye.